What's up, my name's Lotus. There was a spider in my room last night, so I slept on the couch. And this is 4 powerful decks for $15 a piece. I kind of combined my $10 beginner decks with my $30 budget decks, and we got $15 power decks. So if you've been enjoying the $10 introduce your friends to commander decks and you're ready for that next step to get your own official deck that has some power, I think these $15 decks are perfect for you. And if you're just a person that's looking for a powerful casual deck and you're on a budget, I think these are perfect for you as well. So let's jump into these decks. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's do it. Our first powerful deck for $15 is based around Hawkball of the Surging Soul, being 2 a green and a blue for a 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each merfolk you control explores, meaning you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, you can put it back on the top or bottom and put a 1/1 counter on the creature that explored. Whenever Hawkball of the Surging Soul attacks, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you don't, draw a card. So we run all of the small budget merfolks so we can have as many merfolks in play by the time we play Hawkball, and there are, I think, like 35 merfolks in this deck. Let me check. 45 merfolks in this deck. So almost 50% of the deck is merfolk. I'm not going to go through all these because most of them are just small vanilla merfolk or just small merfolk that have evasion. So you're going to play merfolks like Seeker of Sunlight, you're going to play merfolks like Mistway Spy, and you're going to play merfolks like, and you're going to run merfolk like Nakanzo Current Conductor, which also interacts with our whole Explore mechanic, which is extra good. Anyway, you're going to play all these small merfolks, flood the board with them in the first 3 turns. You'll probably have a good 3 to 4 merfolks out by the time you play Hawkball. Then you play Hawkball, move to combat, all of your merfolks explore, so you get a bunch of lands in your hand, or you get a bunch of big merfolks. Then Hawkball can start cheating those lands into play, so you can play more merfolks, and we got some late game bombs that we could play with that mana. Or you just drop some merfolk synergy cards, like Merfolk Mistbinder being a green and a blue 2/2 that gives all our merfolks +1/+1. Deeproot Waters being 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever we cast a merfolk, we get a 1/1 blue merfolk with hexproof. Deeproot Elite being a 1 and a green 1/1. Whenever a merfolk comes into play under our control, it gets a 1/1 counter. Deeproot Historian being 3 and a green for a 3/3. Merfolk and druid cards in your graveyard have retrace. Mist Dancer being 4 and a blue for a 3/3 flying. Other merfolks you control have +1/+0 and have flying. Encore for 5 and 2 blue. Kopala, Warden of the Waves, being 1 and 2 blue for a 2/2. Spells your opponents control that target a merfolk you control cost 2 more to cast. Abilities your opponents activate that target a merfolk cost 2 more to activate. We've also got Marrow Regery, being 2 and a blue for a 2/2. Other merfolks you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a merfolk spell, you may tap or untap target permanent. Singer of Swift Rivers lets us cast merfolks as though they had flash, which is disgusting, but it itself has flash. It's a 3/2, and when it enters, you put a shield counter on another creature. Sure, protection from our commander, and we get to cast merfolks at flash speed. We definitely run that one. Seafloor Oracle is 2 and 2 blue for a 2/3. Whenever a merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Merfolk Sovereign is 1 and 2 blue for a 2/2. Other merfolks you control get +1/+1. Tap it. Target merfolk can't be blocked this turn. That's fantastic. Emperor Mihail II being 1 and 2 blue for a 3/3. You may look at your top card. You may cast merfolks off the top, and whenever you cast a merfolk, you can pay 1 to get another 1/1 blue merfolk. And then finally, Realm Walker is a 2 and a green 2/3 with Changeling. As it enters, choose a creature type. You can look at your top card, and you can cast spells of the chosen type off top. The deck also runs a small package of 1/1 counter interaction cards. Stuff like Inspiring Call lets us draw a card for each creature we control with a 1/1 counter on it, as well as give our whole board indestructible. Merfolk Skydiver is a blue and a green 1/1 with, when Merfolk Skydiver enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, and you can pay 3, a green and a blue to proliferate. And of course, Hardened Scales is an enchantment that makes it so whenever we put a 1/1 counter on something, we put that many +1 1/1 counters on that thing instead. So with Explore, that's going to be very good. Okay, so what I did in this series that I really don't do before, a lot of you guys have brought this up, so I finally integrated it into the videos. We're going to talk about upgrades for these decks as well. So hopefully that's exciting to you guys. For each of these $15 decks, if you scroll down the Moxfield page to Considering, the Considering tab will have the upgrade kit that I recommend. Each one of these upgrade kits also cost $15. So if you like one of these decks and you want to throw an additional 15 down to upgrade it, we've got little upgrade kits as well. So moving on to Hawkball's upgrade kit, I think Svalem of Sea and Sky has a place in here, being 1 and 2 blue for a 3/4. It has indestructible as long as you control at least 2 other merfolks. When it attacks, draw a card. Other merfolk you control have Ward 1. Can never go wrong with protection and card draw. Master of the Pearl Trident is 2 blue for a 2/2. Other merfolks you control have +1/+1 and have Island Walk, so once they're getting all those 1/1 counters, they can potentially be unblockable now. Evolutionary Sage turns every land we play into Proliferate, which will give our merfolks with 1/1 counters more 1/1 counters. Metallic Mimic is 2 for a 2/1. When it enters, choose a creature type. This creature is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each creature you control of the chosen type enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it, adding to the whole play cheap merfolks, make them big, strategy of the deck. Vidalian Hexcatcher is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flash. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. Sack a merfolk, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. Yuck. Of course, Herald of Secret Streams needs to go in this deck if you want to upgrade it. 3 and a blue, 2/3. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them can't be blocked. All your merfolks that explore to non-land, yeah, unblockable. And then finally, from Ninja Turtles, we've got Wave Goodbye, being 2 and 2 blue, sorcery, return each creature without a 1/1 counter on it to its owner's hand. Yeah, that's pretty good, because keep in mind, Hawkball has all your merfolks explore each turn. It's not like they all just get to explore once. It's not like, oh, if it already has a counter on it, it doesn't get to explore. They're just going to keep exploring. You're going to keep finding lands. You're going to keep setting the top of your deck. You're going to keep making your merfolks bigger and bigger and bigger. So stuff like Wave Goodbye is going to be really good because all your stuff's going to have counters on it at one point. So perfect board wipe for this list. Our next $15 powerful deck is based around Shill Gengar, Sire of Famine. This 3 and 2 black 6/6 with flying has sacrifice another creature, create a blood token. If you sacrificed an angel this way, create a number of blood tokens equal to that creature's toughness instead. Pay 3 hybrid Orzhov, sacrifice 6 blood tokens, return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to their other types. Again, this is a deck that's going to run a lot of one creature type. This deck runs 24 angels. But what is really, really, really cool here to me is since we're on a $15 budget, a lot of the angels weren't in our budget. But thanks to the influx of changeling cards that Wizards has printed, this deck actually is pretty nuts on a budget. Let me explain why. So with Shill Gengar, if we play a creature like Prideful Feastling or Barkform Harvester, both of these creatures have changelings, so they will count as angels. So we can sack them to Shill Gengar way earlier than you get to play most angels, because these are both 3 drops, and a lot of angels are like 4, 5, 6 drops. You get to sack these way earlier in this deck with Shill Gengar and get a ton of blood tokens. If you just sack the Prideful Feastling and the Barkform Harvester, you will already have enough blood tokens to do Shill Gengar's ability because they both have 3 toughness. You'll get 6 blood tokens. Shill Gengar's already active to bring back your entire graveyard. So as you can see, that's probably going to be strong. But of course, there's some angels that did make the cut that are really good in this deck. We got Freya, Judge of Valor, being 2 a white and 2 black for a 2/4 flying lifelink. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest into the graveyard. Inspiring Overseer is 2 and a white for a 2/1 flying. When it enters, you gain 1, draw 1. Dazzling Angel is a soul sister attached to an angel, being 2 and a white for a 2/3 that gains you life whenever a creature enters. Angel of Ruins is a huge 5 and 2 white 5/7 that blows up 2 artifacts or enchantments when it enters, but you can plane cycle it, so go ahead and plane cycle this and then bring it back with Shill Gengar later. Angel of Finality exiles a graveyard. Youthful Valkyrie is a 2-drop 1/3 that gets bigger the more angels you play. Holy Cow is a 2/2 for 2 and a white with flash, flying. When it enters, gain 2, scry 1. Cleaving Reaper is 3 and 2 black for a 5/3 flying trample, pay 3 life, return Cleaving Reaper from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only if you had an angel or Berserk enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Wojak Investigator is a 2 and a white 2/4 that helps us investigate. Aegis Angel is a 6-drop 5/5 that gives a creature indestructible. Merchant of Truth is a 4-drop 2/5 that lets us investigate when stuff dies. Sierra's Guardian is a 6-drop 5/5 that gives our whole board vigilance. Renegade Reaper is a 3-drop 2/3 that mills us when it enters, which is great in this deck. Of course, we run Giada, which is just a mana ramp for angels that also gives additional 1/1 counters to your angels. And Sunblast Angel is a 6-drop 4/5 that ETBs and blows up all tapped creatures. So here's the thing. We've got some angels. We've got some changelings. We're going to have blood tokens, but we need to fill our graveyard in a way so that we can just cheat in a whole board full of these angels and changelings out of nowhere. We got Funeral Rites being a 2 and a black sorcery. You draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, then mill 2 cards. We've got Corpse Churn being a 1 and a black instant. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may put a creature card from your graveyard into your hand. We already talked about Freya, Judge of Valor. Rowan's Grim Search is 2 and a black for a bargain, so you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as an additional cost to play this spell. If this spell was bargained, look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put up to 2 of them back on top of your library in any order, and the rest into your graveyard. You draw 2 cards, and you lose 2 life. Dire Sight is 2 and a black for a sorcery. Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. Read the Bones is a 2 and a black sorcery. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. Never mind. Read the Bones does not surveil. I don't know why I keep thinking Read the Bones surveils. It does not. Scratch Read the Bones off. Get Read the Bones out of every graveyard deck I've ever made. Kember the Plunderer is really cool because not only does she give us blood tokens when a creature we control dies, but blood tokens also let us discard a card and draw a card, so that'll help us get creatures out of our hand into the graveyard. Same goes for Moonstone Eulogist being a 3 and 2 black 4/4. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you get a blood token. So same deal. It's just our creatures, their creatures. We're going to make blood tokens. We can use blood tokens for our commander. We can also use blood tokens to get angels out of our hand. Of course, we run Cemetery Tampering, being 2 and a black for an enchantment, Hideaway 5, so you look at your top 5, put a card underneath it face down. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards, then if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you get to play the card that you hid away for free. And we already talked about Renegade Reaper milling us when it ETBs. So yeah, we're playing early game Angels and Changelings to sack to Shell Gengar to rush out our blood tokens, filling our graveyard with more of these Angels and Changelings, using Shell Gengar to then flood the board with all of our Angels and Changelings, and then bash face. If you're asking, hey, why don't you run more bombs? There should be more bombs in here. I kind of agree. In the upgrade package, there are a few more bombs, but also in my past, flyers beat my ass no matter what size they are. They're just a flying is just overpowered, dude. So you're definitely going to be able to bring home the game with these Angels. Trust me, my friend has a Shell Gengar deck, and the amount of times I get my ass beat by small flying Angels is absolutely insane. But I do kind of agree with you that we need a few more bombs. So if you want to upgrade this deck for 15 bucks, let's move on to the upgrade package for it. As far as Shell Gengar's upgrade package is concerned, up first we've got Lyra Dawnbringer, being a 3 and 2 white 5/5 flying, first strike, lifelink. Other Angels you control have 1/1 and lifelink. Yeah, that's gonna win us some games. Angel of Suffering is also on here, being a 3 and 2 black 5/3 flying. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. This is not only a giant 5/3 beater with flying, it also mills us at hyper speed, so we can hit more Angels and then reanimate more Angels with Shell Gengar. Safara Sky's Blade is another fantastic one, being a 4 and 3 white. You may pay 1 white and tap 4 untapped creature spells rather than pay its mana cost. 7/7 flying, lifelink. Other creatures you control have flying and indestructible. Yeah, a little mini Avacyn on there. That seems pretty good. And then finally, Ripples of Undeath needs to go in this deck. 1 and a black enchantment at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase. Mill 3 cards. Then you may pay 1 mana and 3 life. If you do, put a card from among those cards into your hand. Great card fixing, good card draw, great mill. Love Ripples of Undeath. Fantastic. Links to all the decks we're going to talk about, by the way, down in the description. Use the Moxfield links that you find down there, and you can follow along with us. But with that, we're going to move on to our third $15 powerful casual deck, which is based around Maelstrom Wanderer. Yet again, another commander one of my friends has that absolutely beats my ass on a regular basis. Maelstrom Wanderer is 5, a green, a blue, and a red for a 7/5. Creatures you control have haste, Cascade, Cascade again. Now, if you don't know this, which I'm sure you do, Cascade is a cast trigger. So even if they counter Maelstrom Wanderer, you still get 2 Cascades. So have fun just cheating big fat shit into play, giving it haste, and not even having to have your commander resolve to get the stuff into play for free. It's very, very good in casual. This deck absolutely stomps me almost every time I play it versus my friend. It's a very, very good deck. So I thought, hey, is it possible to make this deck for 15 bucks? Very much possible to make this deck for 15 bucks. So let's talk about what we're trying to do here. The first most obvious part about this deck that I want to bring up is Cascade, because Cascade is revealing until you hit a card that costs less than the card with Cascade, and then you get to cast it for free. But Cascade is a cast trigger. So if you Cascade into something that has Cascade, you can Cascade again when you cast that thing, because you're casting it. So you can get little Cascade chains going off in this deck. So let's talk about all of our cards we run in this deck. I know, broken record. With Cascade. The deck runs Throes of Chaos, being 3 and a red for a sorcery with Cascade and Retrace, meaning you may cast this spell from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other cost. Just a repeatable Cascade effect. Bloodbraid Elf is a 2, a green, and a red 3/2 haste Cascade. Volcanic Torrents is a 5 and a red Cascade. Volcanic Torrents deals X damage to each creature and each opponent, where X is the number of spells you've cast this turn. Shardless Agent being a 1, a blue, and a green 2/2 Cascade. Boarding Party being a 5 and a red 6/3 haste Cascade. Maelstrom Colossus being an 8-drop 7/7 Cascade. Ethereum Horn Sorcerer being a 4, a blue, and a red 3/6 Cascade that you can also return to your hand for 1, a blue, and a red. Amodi Celebrant of Bounty gives all of our spells that cost 6 or more Cascade. That includes our commander, giving him an additional Cascade trigger. Bloodbraid Challenger is a 5-drop 4/3 Cascade Haste Escape. Flamekin Herald literally gives our commander another form of Cascade, so if we have Emoti and Flamekin out, our commander cascades 4 times. Monstrous Vortex doesn't necessarily cascade, but it turns all of our creatures with power 5 or greater into Discover X triggers, which is essentially just better Cascade. And Sweet Gum Recluse is a 4 and 2 green 0/3 Flash Cascade. reach that gets 3 1/1 counters on it for each creature that entered the battlefield this turn. So hitting into any of those off our commander, except for Maelstrom Colossus, will be incredibly powerful because we can just daisy chain a ton of cascade triggers, cheat a ton of free stuff into play. It's the whole kit and caboodle of this deck. Oh yeah, sorry, we also run Annoyed Allosaurus. I forgot to bring that one up. 5 and 2 green, 6/5 reach, trample, cascade. Just good. Imagine hitting that off your commander. We like that. So you're playing your commander, you're cascading into potentially more cascade cards, but you're also cascading into the other thing, which is huge bombs that we want to cheat into play, because our commander cascade twice. So we could either cascade into cascade and fill up our board with stuff that way, or we could double cascade with our commander and just hit 2 flat up huge bombs to cheat into play. That's the way my friend likes to play this deck, so I packed this deck full of bombs that we can also cheat into play with our commander. We've got Hornet Queen being a 4 and 3 green 2/2 flying death touch, make 4 1/1 flying death touches when it comes into play. Steel Hellkite being a 6-drop 5/5 flying, pay 2, give it 1/0 until end of turn. Pay X, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X controlled by a player dealt damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Diluvian Primordial is a 7-drop 5/5 flying that steals an instant or sorcery out of each opponent's graveyard. Inferno Titan is a 4 and 2 red 6/6 that has fire breathing and deals 3 damage divided when it attacks or enters. Frost Titan is a 6 mana 6/6 that cannot be the target of spells or abilities unless they pay 2, and whenever it attacks or enters, you tap something and lock it down. Mere Battlesphere is a 7-drop 4/7 that makes 4 1/1s that can make itself bigger and deal direct damage when it attacks. Rampaging Baloths is a 6-drop 6/6 trample that makes 4/4s whenever you play a land. Sure. Bonnie Powell, Clear Cutter, 3, a green, 2 blue, 6/5 reach. Make a giant cow token equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then you may put a land from your hand into play. Just a great card. Avenger of Zendikar, 7-drop 5/5, make a shit ton of 0/1 plants equal to the number of lands, and then pump those plants up when you play more lands. Sure. And then finally, Atali Primal Storm being 4 and 2 red, 6/6. When it attacks, you get to cheat a card off the top of everyone's deck and play it for free. That doesn't seem overpowered at all. So if this deck does sound interesting, of course, we've got a $15 upgrade for this one as well, so let's check that out. Somberwald Sage, first off, is a must-add. Being 2 and a green, 0/1, tap to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. This will help you get your commander out on turn 4, which is absolutely disgusting. Goreclaw is a 4-drop 4/3 that lets all your creatures with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast, and whenever Goreclaw attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets 1/1 and trample until end of turn. And when our commander's huge, our commander cheats out other huge things, and our commander gives everything haste. Goreclaw seems insane. We got Timir Sabertooth being 2 and 2 green for a 4/3. You can pay 1 and a green to return a creature you control to your hand and give Timir Sabertooth indestructible, aka bounce your commander back to your hand, play it again to cascade. Seems pretty good. Timir Battlecruiser is a green, a blue, and a red for a 4/3. During your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Makes me laugh every time. Busted card. Sirach Dragonclaw is 2 a green, a blue, and a red 6/6 flash, can't be countered. Creatures you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have trample. Apex Devastator is a 10-drop 10/10 that cascades 4 times. That just felt like it was in the heart of the cards here. And then of course we run Svella because card draw and potential huge mana acceleration. Again, cheat our commander out on turn 4. That's pretty much the point of this. Love that. So yeah, if you want to mana ramp your absolute heart out to rush your commander to cast it as fast as possible, cascade into a huge chain of things, cheat a bunch of stuff into play, and then rinse and repeat, mana ramp some more, cheat your commander back into play, and play more cascade things, cheat more bombs into play, go ultimate Timir Timmy style deck, this is 100% the deck for you. Deck link down below. And with that, let's move on to the fourth and final $15 powerful casual deck of today's video. The final deck of today's video, everybody, is based around Hapatra. Hapatra is a black and a green for a 2/2. Whenever Hapatra deals combat damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Whenever you put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, create a 1/1 green snake creature token with Death Touch. Very overpowered, especially with the introduction of the new Blight mechanic from Lorwyn. There's plenty of overpowered cards that can just like enter and stick -1/-1 counters on our own stuff and then flood our board with 1/1 Death Touch snakes. Actually, that ties into the video that I uploaded Sunday. If you want to watch that up here, we talked about rattlesnake cards. This is a perfect rattlesnake card. It literally makes rattlesnakes that have Death Touch. Perfect. But it's safe to say we're going to have plenty of ways to put -1/-1 counters on stuff. 30 different cards that do it. So we're going to want to jump into that pretty quick. So let's do it. We got Baleful Amit being 2 and a black, 4/3 lifelink. When it enters, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Lethal Sting being 2 and a black, as an additional cost to cast Lethal Sting, put a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control. Destroy target creature. Torment of Venom being 2 and 2 black for an instant, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature. Its controller loses 3 life unless he or she sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Wickerbow Elder, 3 and a green, 4/4. Wickerbow Elder enters with a -1/-1 counter on it. Pay a green, remove a -1/-1 counter from it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Defiant Great Maw, 2 and a green, 4/5. It enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. Whenever you put -1/-1 counters on Defiant Great Maw, you can remove -1/-1 counters from other stuff you control. Dream Caesar is 3 and a black for a 3/2 flying. When it enters, you may blight 1. If you do, each opponent discards a card. Exemplar of Strength is 1 and a green for a 4/4 that enters with 3 -1/-1 counters on it. Whenever it attacks, you remove a -1/-1 and gain 1 life. Serrated Biskellion is 3 for a 2/2. Tap it, put a -1/-1 counter on it, and then a -1/-1 counter on another target creature. That's a lot of snakes. Soul Stinger is 3 and a black for a 4/5 that enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. When it dies, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature for each -1/-1 counter on Soul Stinger. Decimator Beetle is 3 a black and a green for a 4/5. When it enters, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. When it attacks, remove a -1/-1 counter from a creature you control and put a -1/-1 counter on a creature defending player controls. Skin Render enters and gives -1/-1 counters. Bog Slither's Embrace exiles a creature but has you blight and as an additional cost. Splendid Agony lets you distribute 2 -1/-1 counters. Blight Rot straight up puts 4 of them on somebody. Dusk Urchin, 2 and a black. 4/3. When it attacks, put a -1/-1 counter on it. When this creature dies, draw a card for each -1/-1 counter on it. Channeler Initiate enters with -1/-1s, but removes them to add mana to your mana pool. Abhorrent Return is just 3 persist stapled onto each other, except they enter with -1/-1 counters. Darkness Descend puts 2 -1/-1 counters on each creature. Incremental Blight is an absolute unit in this deck, being 3 and 2 black for a sorcery. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature, put 2 -1/-1 counters on another target creature, and put 3 -1/-1 counters on a third target creature. Soul Snuffers enters and just gives everyone a neg 1. Contagion Clasp gives 1 of them, but then has Proliferate on a stick. Grim Affliction gives 1 creature a -1/-1, but then proliferates. Dread Tiller is 1 a black and a green for a 2/4. When it enters, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Whenever a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may put a land card from your hand or graveyard into play tapped. Carnifex Demon just dishes out -1/-1 counters on a stick. Verdilian Corruptor destroys artifacts and enchantments and also has Infect, so it does damage in the form of -1/-1s. Devoted Druid gets -1/-1s to untap itself, and you can tap it for a mana. Midnight Banshee, 3 and 3 black, 5/5 Wither. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each non-black creature. Sure. Black Sun Zenith is just an X drop that puts X -1/-1s on everything, and Dawnhand Dissident is a 1 black 1/2. Tap it, blight 1, surveil 1, tap it, blight 2, exile target card from a graveyard. During your turn, you may cast creature spells from among cards you own in exile with this creature by removing 3 counters from among creatures you control in addition to paying their cost, which is going to be so easy in this deck, it's ridiculous. So yeah, plenty of ways to put -1/-1 counters on stuff. Not a whole lot to talk about. We are going to interact with these snakes though, so we run stuff like Woe Strider to be able to sack those snakes and scry, along with stuff like Viscera Seer to do the same. But with the sheer amount of like removal, making your opponent's stuff smaller, putting -1/-1 counters on your stuff, getting snakes, like you have so much going on that this deck will probably pull ahead a lot of the time. It will not get attacked very much, and it won't get blocked very much. Again, the tokens you're making have Death Touch, so those are going to get in all the time for damage. But if you want some straight up ways to win with these tokens, we do have some ways in this deck. We run Finn the Fangbearer, giving all of your creatures with Death Touch the ability to do 2 poison damage when they connect. So yeah, with our snakes, that'll win the game. Ivy Lane Denizen just seems good. Whenever a green creature enters, we put a 1/1 counter on target creature. This seems like a great way to just not only mitigate the -1/-1 counters, but also start buffing up our snakes. Speaking of buffing up our snakes, Vraska Swarm's Eminence is very good, being a 2 and 2 Golgari hybrid Planeswalker, enters with 5 loyalty. As a passive ability, whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. Yeah, so our snakes are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You can also -2 her to put out a 1/1 with Death Touch. Oh, you like Death Touch? What about Hooded Blightfang? 2 and a black, 1/4, Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch attacks, each opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. Yeah, that's going to win you the game with those snakes. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. Yeah, those are probably going to help you bring home games if the big-ass board of Death Touch snakes don't do it already. So if you're interested in this deck, let's move on to the $15 upgrade for it, so you can really make this thing shine. Necroskitter is a card that needs to go in this deck, being 1 and 2 black, 1/4 Wither, which means it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, it comes back into play under your control. Absolutely busted. So is Skull Clamp, being a 1-drop, equip for 1, equip creature gets +1/-1. When equip creature dies, draw 2 cards. So your snakes are just going to be massive card draw engines. Kirkwood Bats seems insane in here. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, everyone loses 1. So all these tokens you're making are just going to be doing tons of damage. Again, your tokens aren't going to be blocked a ton, so this is why Mirkwood's better than something like Blood Artist, because your tokens aren't going to be dying that much, but they're going to be created a ton. Evolutionary Sage, we already talked about this one. Lands turn into Proliferate. That seems insane in this deck because you can just proliferate more -1/-1s on stuff, get more snakes because of it. no-brainer for me. And then the best card you could run in here, I think, is Generous Patron. 2 and a green, 1/4. When this creature enters support 2, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card. Yeah, counters. So all of our -1/-1s are drawing us cards if we put them on opponent stuff. Yuck. But yeah, that was our $15 powerful casual decks for this week. I hope you liked this version of the series where I kind of had the $10 intro, introduce your friends to Commander videos, and the $30 power on a budget videos, and I was like, now Kith. I think this makes a pretty good series. Let me know which one of these decks was your favorite. If you already run one of these decks, recommend down below in the comments some upgrades for people that want to make the deck. Let me know how you play your version of the deck. If you're interested in any of these decks, any of that stuff down in the comments. I love hearing it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to hit 20K by the end of the year. That seems very doable to me. And if you want to show some additional support, you can head over to nixlotus.com, use our Scryfall search tool, check out our community submitted decks, or check out our merch store to order the Teneb the Harvester crewneck sweatshirt. And if you want to show some additional support, you can head over to Patreon or the YouTube members page to become members. It starts as low as $1 a month. Really helps me out, as well as allows you to submit your decks for Friday night deck reviews. So a little bit of incentive there. If you want to go ahead and click on the video on screen, YouTube thinks you might like it. And with that, I'm going to see you guys next time. Peace.